welcome to another episode of How the Hell Did I Get Here show with Meg and Rachel. Thanks for joining us. Today we have David Richards on the line with us. David K. Richards you have a very official sounding name.
Oh, yes.
A dad-preneur, longtime educator, change maker, and a movement builder. His life's purpose is to be an ambassador to change systems of learning and human development. David is a leadership coach, the founder of Growth Public Schools, and most recently, the founder and CEO of Heart of the Matter, a movement to reform learning and human development. Hi, David. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me. It's great to be with you guys.
Man, I want to know more just from the intro. Sounds awesome.
So many things going on.
I mean, I don't want to spend my time with small children in any kind of learning environment, but I love that somebody does.
Yeah, right? These people are godsends for folks like
so
me.
much.
That is not a skill set I possess, nor do I care to. I can deal with my own children. That's about the extent of it.
I only have one for a reason.
Yeah. So, David, tell us about your how the hell moment. Good for better, worse, good, bad, or ugly, where you looked up and said, how the hell did I get here?
Yeah. So I was always torn between do I become a teacher or do I become a business guy? It's like, I really had these entrepreneurial goals and I also loved teaching. And I decided to jump in to become a teacher and took a huge pay cut and went for it. But the how the hell did I get here moment was after 10 years of being an educator, I had this beautiful experience where I worked for one of the best charter school organizations in the country in Silicon Valley, where Zuckerberg and CEO of Netflix, Reed Hastings, a lot of the investors in wanting to reform education were really invested in this amazing organization that I went from teacher to assistant superintendent with in 9 years. It was a beautiful, beautiful career story, everything. I jumped into education, left the banking world, and everyone said that was a bad idea. And so then I thought I had found my nirvana, and it was like, look what happened when I followed my dream and I didn't, stay at the bank in Washington, D.C., but rather went for my dream and working with teenagers. But what ended up happening was when I was about to hit 40, I actually had Bell's palsy, which is paralysis of the face. So you get someone stabbing you in your ear, your taste, it's really bad, and then half of your face is paralyzed. Crazy. So that was probably a message that I wasn't on the right track. And so I decided to listen to that message. And I was like, wait, everything about this is so exactly what you're told you're supposed to do. I'm 39 years old. I have a C-level title. I have a 6-figure salary. I have great benefits. I have a great house in the Bay Area. I have 2 children, and everything was supposed to be perfect, right? But then here I have back problems. I'm always sick. And then it was the final straw was, and with Bell's palsy, it's kind of like mono. You just sleep for 3 months straight. So I couldn't actually work that much at all, even though I tried. And it was at that moment that I was like, how the hell did I get here? How did I get to this point where I'm back again in a place where I'm doing this executive level work, which is really natural and great for me, but I feel so disconnected from my soul. And so at that moment, I decided, I actually was hiking with my son and he was 3 and I held him and he fell asleep. And so I sat on a rock and I was in Lake Tahoe, looking at the mountains. And I was like, I can't do this anymore. And so I decided at that moment that I would start my own school for my kids and really walk away from a Rolodex, which we don't have this anymore, but you know what they are. Walk away from
people of a certain age will know what you mean.
Exactly. Walk away from an iPhone contact list that was, every tech titan in Silicon Valley that was turning, giving away millions of dollars to build this beautiful school and this organization of schools that now has the school, its program is called Summit Public Schools, and now it's in 3,000 schools across the country. They've found a way to scale it across the country.
Aren't you glad you got out of that?
Yeah, what a terrible place to be, all that success. But I just decided that my soul was really connected back to the community. And then I know you're going to ask me about my type, and being an independent, the way I quit that organization was I said, hey, my founder was very amazing. She's an amazing woman. And I knew she was not going to I thought she was not going to let me go. So I was like, I need a really good story for her to she's never let talent go. So I said, I can't be the assistant coach anymore. I need to be the head coach. And she's like, there's nothing I can argue. I can't argue with you. If you're
Dang.
ready to be the head coach, then I can't, at one point she tried to convince me to like run a satellite of the organization. I was like, but I'm still the assistant coach just from far away. So she's got to be the head coach. And so that was a moment that I just decided that I'd start my own school. And then as I built this school out, I did get the hunger for the scale and thinking about how I could have more impact than just one school and one community, which is a beautiful thing. And it's amazing. And my kids attend and all that. But I was like, I really want to have some version of scale. So that's why I launched Hard to Matter, which is basically an online learning community where if you're a teacher or a leader, entrepreneur, parent that wants to change your life, reimagine school, figure out how to navigate this crazy world of COVID, that there's a place for you, like a video course or a meetup group or some sort of connection and community where virtually, globally across the world, you can connect and whatever interest you have, we're going to provide a course for you or some sort of experience.
Wow, awesome. So you're not only focusing on the students, I should say school age students, you're sort of expanding out to general teaching and learning a lot of different ways. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So you mentioned your independence. And so one of the hallmarks of our independence is that you're always seeking a more authentic life, which sounds like that's kind of what you're up to.
Yes.
And so, the other things that are interesting is that kind of relate to your journey is that you're also willing to do things that make sense for you that don't necessarily make sense for other people. And one of the things I was curious about what you said is that you felt disconnected from your soul. So I wonder, what kind of things do you do now, or how do you think about staying connected to your soul now?
Yeah.
What do you do differently now than you did before?
Yeah. So one of the things I teach my coaching clients, and then the programs that I run usually always have this kind of theme, is that the native cultures had a thing called the sacred name, where you would have a name that's kind of like your soul's purpose. And so I've worked with a coach for years, and she was like, I'm going to give you your sacred name. And I was like, what is it? And she's like, you're a bridge builder, space holder. I was like, oh yeah. She's like, you are all love and you want to hold the space for people and you want to build the bridge. So for me, it's like anything I'm doing, I'm just like, am I doing it? And then I'm a teacher. So everybody who's ever done any work with me is like, you're a teacher. You're a teacher, bridge builder, space holder. But you think about a teacher, what do? They hold space. So it's so basically for me, it's really asking myself, like, am I living up to my authentic purpose of holding the space, being the bridge builder, and living in the frequency of love? Like, that's it. That's the question I ask myself every single day. So like the latest organization I'm building, it's for students, it's for parents, it's for teachers, like it's for all ages, but it's really what it is just a reflection of my soul's purpose. And so I just ask myself that every day, like, am I actually doing something? When I was doing the executive work, sometimes you can be really good at something that's not feeding your soul. Like, I'm really logical, I'm really strategic, I'm like quick on my feet, I'm great with people. So leadership's all about people. So a lot of times when I work with my clients, I just say, like, what is it that you love to do every second of every day? And then I try and give them their sacred name. Well, they know their sacred name. So I try and bring it out of them. Say, like, what is it that you love to be doing? And typically it's not something that they thought it was. Something as silly as, like, when I was 8 years old, I wanted to be a game show host. And everyone's like, game show host? The 80s, like, it was like all these cool game shows. And then I was like,
Whack-a-mole? No, that was the whammy one. Sorry.
Oh yeah, no, there's so many great ones. We can go down the memory lane. and then I was like, everyone of course laughed me out of the, game show host. Like, there's only 5, And then I was like, okay, I'm gonna be a stand-up comedian, And then it was like, no, that doesn't seem right. Okay, so I want to be a lawyer. I want to be like Matlock. And so when you're like kid, you actually know this, like, your soul's purpose. You really do, a version of it. And if you go through that throughout my life, I've always been some version of a game show host, stand-up comedian, and a lawyer. Like, I've always been holding the space.
Kind of
Yeah.
Right.
And yeah.
I love it. One of the other challenges, chaos. So an independent is on the chaos side of the spectrum.
Yeah.
And I'm on that side too. So is Meg, to a lesser degree. And one of the challenges I see people have, and since you're in kind of this transformation space, is that often people are rewarded for consistency. They're rewarded for being specialists. They're rewarded for predictability, for sensical things. And that's something that I had to let go of. And so do you see that with the people you work with? And what would your advice be for those folks?
Yeah, my advice would be basically people take the safe route because that's the easiest thing to do. And that's living your life through your false self. And the really safe route, like for me, it would be to stay at the job and stay at the bank job and have that 9-to-5 job. And that would be like a nightmare for an independent, right? To be a bank that's like all structures and rules and 42 layers of bosses.
Some people thrive in that, but it wouldn't be
absolutely
authentic. So.
Exactly. It's not that I don't think you should work in a bank. It's that it wasn't the right for me. And so I really tell people, like, figure out what your authentic self is. And sometimes I don't know, it just depends on who you are and what works for you. And I love your types because I feel like once you figure that out, like I've done activities with my clients, and as I've been coached, is like, what's a through line through your life? What are the 10 things that you keep coming back to when you were the happiest in your life? What was it that you were doing at that moment? And for me, it's like it's always the same consistency. And so I have a very high tolerance for chaos, as your report shared. And that's why I've always loved startups. So I go back through my life and I'm like, oh, my first job was working at a Pizza Hut, the first Pizza Hut in my town. My second job was working at the first Blockbuster in my town, like starting it from scratch, like putting all the boxes together, and like the founding team. And like every job I've ever had has been some startup, even as like an hourly employee. So I've always known that I have this ability to really live in ambiguity, but the scared self, the false self, the fear-based self is like, that's just too scary. It's too scary. So then it was always trying to convince me to go back to these very consistent routines, like you said, and go back to the banking, go back to these other jobs that are much more regulated, systematic, stable. And I just know that that's how I feel safe and comfortable, but that's not how I feel alive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you probably wouldn't feel safe and comfortable forever either. Well, you tried it, right? You tried it.
Right. Good point.
Awesome. Yeah. All right. Well, David, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
We could sit here and talk to you for hours about your story. We've already actually had a chance
I was going to say, I already have.
We've got an hour down anyways. So always great stories to share, and really, really, I would say unique aha moments that you share with people in a way that's bite-sized enough for their emotion, whatever emotional state or whatever state they are in their career, can kind of latch onto it and say, okay, I get that. I might not be ready for that, but I get it. So again, thank you for sharing with our community. We really appreciate your time, and best of luck in all your endeavors. Do you want to take a minute and kind of tell us what you're working on right now?
Yeah, so I do have a podcast called A Conscious Way Forward. You can find it on any of the, Spotify, iTunes, wherever you find your podcasts. And then I have heartofthematter.io, which is, like I said, the online learning community. And then davidkrichards.com, which is where I do my leadership coaching and other kind of more individualized projects.
Okay, great. Well, we'll make sure that Shelly gets all those links and doodads in the show notes.
Beautiful. Thank you, guys. Awesome. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, until next time, gang, we hope you're well and safe. Lead powerfully.
Change the world.